So, got a surprise. Let me just show you what it is. What's going on YouTube, it's Manny right here. Welcome back to the channel. You can see what's in front of us right now. I don't need to tell you what it is. So without any further ado, let's get straight into the action right here. So now we are going to get the drone setup ready for our first flight. First thing first, we are going to attach the propellers onto the drones. Once you've done that, then go ahead and remove the gimbal clamp in the hood, which is newly designed. Then from here, you are going to have to make sure that you have all the settings correct first time round, making sure all the firmware update before we go any further. This will take roughly half an hour to about 40 minutes. But for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to show you the whole process because it's just going to take a long time. So I've already updated, and so we just move on from there. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to fly. The first thing we're going to do is the gimbal movement. We have to make sure to get nice cinematic move. We have to make sure that the gimbal max speed is roughly around 25 to 30. Now I'm going to try and make it stick to about 30 for now. 30. So the gimbal pitch smoothness, we are going to try and make sure we get to about in the middle, I reckon. But you can go lower if you want, 10 or lower, but I would like to keep it at 15 for that nice smoothness of the gimbal without it stopping too sudden. And just to make sure all the sensors are working, yep, it's turned on. Display radar chart, that's turned on, yep. And we've got to make sure that the flight altitude is 120 meters, which is fine. We don't need to worry about over here because it's already default set. Now you gotta make sure the controller is okay, yep. And so now we go to the camera settings. Usually I like to shoot in manual mode so I can control what I'm going to do. Usually I like to keep the ISO as low as possible so you won't get any grain or any noise on your footage. So depending on the light condition, you can go up now. On the Mavic 2 Pro you can go from 2.8 to 11 depending on the brightness. So if it's too dark, you want to keep it at 2.8. If it's too bright, you will probably want to keep it down to like maybe 11 or 8 or whatever it is. And shutter speed, usually if I were to shoot 4K 30 right here, I am going to keep my shutter speed at 60 to 1. As they all say, double your frame rate. And then if we are going to shoot in say 2.7K 60p, then we will have to turn the shutter speed to 120, double the frame rate. Now usually they would tell you to shoot in 24 frames per second because that's the most cinematic settings that you can shoot in. There's two options here. There's the 4K HQ and the 4K full FOV. Full FOV will give you wider field of view. As for the 4K high quality, you will zoom in further. and usually I would like to keep the color in D-Log M. You can keep it in normal if you want, but I always like to do my own color grading, so I will keep it at D-Log M. Camera coding, now H.265 and H.264, what's the difference between them? H.264 just means it's older codecs, and H.265 is a newer one, and H.265 will probably give you better quality. Now video format, depending on your computer, if you're a Windows user you'll be shooting in MP4, if you're a Mac user you'll be shooting in MOV, but for me I will be shooting in MP4. As for white balance, they all say that do not shoot in auto white balance because it's always constantly changing. The color changes all the time. So I always shoot in custom 5100. That's the number that I always shoot in. I shoot 5100 in my old Mavic Pro, and it always works with my color grading. So that's that done. Style, custom. We want to get that sharpness up the tiny bit, just +1. And once that is done, we are pretty much ready to go. Apart from the third tab right here, you can probably make sure you get the center point on so you can frame the shot better. The next thing you want to do is, if you shoot in Hyperlapse, then you want to keep the raw file, so you can go into Lightroom and have all the raw file that you shot. And so that's pretty much it really with the settings to get that cinematic look. Once that's done, you're pretty much ready to go out and get flying. Okay, right now we are outside in the countryside ready for our first test flight of the Mavic 2 Pro. Presuming that you have already got all your firmware updated at home ready to go. But once that's done, that's where the fun begins. Okay, so now we have everything set up ready to go. We are now ready to launch our first test flight of our Mavic 2 Pro. So without any further ado, let's get on it. Right.
Take off.
Ready? First maiden flight of the Mavic 2 Pro. Look at how stable that is. Let's try and see what happens when you do the Hyperlapse mode. So right now I'm going to try and find the moving subject so I can frame them better and then we'll be able to do our hyperlapse mode from there. So in this instant, we're going to try and find some moving cars maybe. Okay, this is going to be our frame. And once you got your framing correct, make sure all your settings is also correct, not too dark, not too bright, and also make sure to turn the autofocus into manual. You don't want to be flying your drone halfway and suddenly your camera decided to try and focus itself, turn into autofocus, and if you lose that focus on that single frame, it's going to look weird. So make sure to turn that into manual focus once you have tap focus the first time on the screen, and make sure it's already focused, and then turn to manual focus. So right now it's ready, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn the hyperlapse mode on. Okay, so now that's ready, we go ahead and go for that shot. So that's it guys, that's all I can offer you for now for the first flight. As you can hear, right now the battery is running low, the remote control is on 15%, so after this shoot I will bring the drone back and then go back and charge it, and then we'll go again for the next trip. So until then, I'll see you next time.